Words with the Birds. Before we get started, I'd like to say Happy Hanukkah and give all praise to the Most High, because without Him I wouldn't be able to do this here again. So the word I would like to dive in today, intellectual property, very important word. What is intellectual property? Definition is a category of property that includes intangible creation, such as information, things like books, albums, ideas, Bluetooth headphones that no longer need the cord, things of that nature. The origin goes back to Cyrus, ancient Greece, around 500 BC, where the government offered a one-year patent protection and recognition to all who should discover any new refinement in luxury. At the time, the luxury being bread, meaning, so if you could, created Cinnabon at the time, and that was the hottest thing. The official, you take that to the officials. The official would probably then offer you a catering position. If the crowd loved it, then they would then probably ask you to come back, and pay you by the loaf, which would then equate to profit, which would then boost one's social status. It would allow one to climb up the social status and be known, as the guy who created the nice, or the young lady who created the nice tasting Cinnabon bread, right? The inspiration comes from Proverbs 31:9, which says to open your mouth or speak up for those with no voice and defend the rights of all who are unfortunate and defenseless, right? And another one is 1 Timothy 5:18, which states, should not muzzle the ox when it treads out for grain, and the worker deserves his wages, right? Why is that important, right? Why is intellectual property important? Because if you're going to go in business and you want to reap, if you're going to go in business, the main thing is going to be profit, right? To produce income, right? So having intellectual property rights or protection, right? Having them administered, right, to people and businesses for the protection of their information and intellectual goods. What is the protection? The protection is the legal right to exclude others from the making, using, or selling an invention for a limited period of years in exchange for publishing and enabling public disclosure of the invention, right? So an example of this, let's say you have a nice album and you have nice songs that you think the world would love to mimic and imitate, and they're going to be on the radio, right? Or you have a book, right? The new, the hottest book that's going to be in the homes of over, let's say 5 million people, right? Right? So by having this protection, it prevents what I call vulture capitalism, right? What is vulture capitalism? What I describe vulture capitalism is someone who already has capital, right? They are able to create a cheap device, whether it be camera or microphone. They listen to your songs, right? They use their camera to watch you type up your book, right? And they beat you to the patent office, right? Or let's say you know nothing about the patent office, you just like writing the book, right? So they would then take their money, using their cheap device, go get a patent or claim copyright, trademark, right, of said work, which is the protection, right? And then they can exclude the actual creator from reaping benefits off his own creation, which before I states, you get the profit, able to climb up the social ladder, right? Able to be recognized as one who discovered a new refinement and luxury, right? So by this function, we get free thinking, right? Which gives our society the power to return ownership of the inventions back to the inventors of the creation, right? The importance of this is for profit, right? Wages, right? Economic incentives, which are expected to stimulate innovation and contribute to the technological progress of one's society, right? So the importance of this, like I said, is profit and economic incentives, but also not only for the free thinking of society, which will give ownership back to the ownership of the inventions back to the inventors of the creation, but we also want to stimulate innovation, right? And we also want to contribute to the technological progress, meaning it's a monkey see, monkey do world, right? So if the hottest thing is being a owner of a business, and which is what we're trying to push and trying to get to, if the hottest thing is to be an owner and make your own money and not to be dependent on one, you're going to need profit for that, right? And not only are you going to need this protection, you're going to also need legal protection, because they're going to charge you legal fees to be able to protect your work. So if one is excluded from making money, one can't afford legal fees, right? And one can't reap benefits, right? So we even have here in 1624 where King James of England wrote the Statute of Monopolies, where they wanted to restrict the power of the big guy from taking the ideas from the little guy, right? Because with that, you have more like a stronghold of entire, let's say, industry, right? If you're the guy at the top, you use all your money, no one can compete with you if you decide to crush all the little guys, right? Vulture capitalism, using your money to crush these guys before they can get off the ground, right? So examples of these, like I said, copyrights, which are usually represented by the C and circle. You got patents, which is being recognized as the first to do something. Like, let's say we could take Eli Whitney as a great example. He's credited with the invention of the cotton gin. However, we have another young man by the name of Sam and his father, whom they say created the mechanism of removing the cotton, without the necessary use of slave hands, right? So you got two guys competing for this, let's say, patent, or to be recognized for this creation, right? It goes to Eli Whitney, right? So how does this affect each other, right? So you got Eli Whitney being credited. So now this creates what we call generational wealth, to where the descendants of Eli Whitney, his children and their children, reap royalties off this creation of the cotton gin, right? So let's say $5 off each one. 5 times 100 is 500, right? At the time, could have been a lot of money. Let's say it's even more today, right? So you take that money that's constantly being made as you sleep, right? It's constantly recurring. You take that money, right? Now you can fund tuition. You can fund new nice home, better neighborhood, better cars, better attire, all these things, right? To make one feel better about oneself, right? So you take Eli Whitney, who's being credited for it, and you got the guy, Sam, not credited for it. So now his descendants get to reap and live a life of luxury, while this guy still has to struggle and possibly have to create another invention and try to get a patent or protection or recognition, which probably isn't going to be as good as the cotton gin was at the time, I'm just saying. So this is just one thing I wish I knew before I got into business, and hopefully this prevents someone from revealing information or giving up, or allowing people to see your great invention before you recognize yourself as a patent holder, as a copyright holder, or the owner of the trademark to say slogan or the name of said business, right? Or you have trade secrets, how to make tacos for less money, however the case may be. Whatever that information is, you should be entitled not only to the recognition of patent and being recognized from that, but to the economic incentives which come from that, right? Because monkey see, monkey do. If I see you doing something great and you did it on your own, I'm going to want to do that, right? So it prohibits the slave mentality where people just want to do what others do, as far as, I'm going to go just do this because this is the easy way, right? If someone sees the hard way working out, they're going to be more willing to take that hard way risk. So when people say, you should wake up and live the life you always wanted to live, I go do all the things I love to do. You're not. How do you know, right? How do you know you don't want to be an astronaut, right? How do you know I don't possibly think my best life will be the owner of the Texas Rangers, right? So when someone says, you should, I want to wake up and live I want all my economic incentives so that my options are plentiful and not limited, right? And that's my message for today. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Till next time, thanks and be blessed.